Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about something very important that's going to give you a better perspective of the state that our world is in right now. What is the global consciousness? How do we determine this? And it is actually in the ancient Indian scriptures when we talk about the Yugas, the ages of mankind, and particularly when we talk about Vedic astrology in terms of the sidereal system, that it uses the movements of the stars, which we will go into great lengths with the nakshatras. But today I want to talk about the level of consciousness on planet Earth. And it's going to make so much sense to you why we're in the state that we are and how long it's going to take to evolve into different states of consciousness while we're in this dimension on Earth. So before I continue on, I want to tell everyone about my Patreon page, Joni Patry Patreon page, because what I do is I ask for those that are part of my Radiate with Patreon, that's the level Radiate, I ask for them to give me suggestions as to what I should do my YouTubes about. And I want to give a shout out to Valerie, because Valerie is the one that said, why don't you do a video on the planetary yugas and the levels of consciousness on planet Earth. So thank you, Valerie. I'm taking your advice and I'm going to give everyone a look at what these cycles are all about. So first of all, what I want to talk about is the ages, the planetary ages in terms of the signs. So when we talk about that we're going into the age of Aquarius, are we in the age of Aquarius right now? The answer is no. We are still in the age of Pisces. And you see each of these ages, these astrological ages, they're somewhere around. Now, some people say that the entire cycle of precession takes 26,000 years to complete, and some say it's 24. In the Holy Science by Swami Yukteswar, he said that it's 24,000 years, but astronomers have said it's 26. So regardless, it's somewhere in this average of years that it takes for us to go through all of the signs, 12 signs of the zodiac, because it takes approximately 2,100 or so years to complete an astrological sign through the sign of Pisces, through the sign of Aquarius. Now, let me tell you how that's based. You see, this is all about the movement of the fixed stars. And what this movement is called is precession of the equinoxes. And what that actually means is that the stars are actually moving, but they move at this very slow rate of speed that takes 24 to 26,000 years to go through all 12 signs. And depending on what sign we are in is really what the level of consciousness is about according to the astrological ages. So what this equates to is that the stars are moving from the vantage point of Earth, and they move approximately 1 degree every 72 years backwards in the zodiac. And so about 2,000 years ago, both the tropical placements that Western astrologers are using, as well as the sidereal placements, lined up at 0 degrees of Aries. But the stars are moving, and over the course of about 2,000 and 24,000 years, we are right now still in the age of Pisces. So it's moved off of the 0 point of Aries that the tropical Western astrologers use. And so therefore, the starting reference point for the sidereal astrologers, and by the way, sidereal astrology is what's used in India for the most part. And that's why I call it Vedic astrology or sidereal astrology. And looking at this, what we're going to find is that at this point in time, we're approximately around 6 degrees of Pisces in the zodiac as the starting point for the sidereal astrologers. By the way, sidereal means star, so it's based on the stars and this movement. And therefore, it is actually where the planets are. When we talk about the sidereal placements, it's actually where the planets are in astronomical means. So if you talk to an astronomer, they're going to have the same placements that we're using in sidereal Vedic astrology. So if we're at 6 degrees of Pisces right now, the year of 2024, then if you consider the fact that the zodiac moves backwards, and therefore it's going to go 6 degrees, 5 degrees, 4 degrees, and by the time it reaches the age of Aquarius, it will enter into Aquarius at 29 degrees of Aquarius. But each year equates to what? 72 years will equate to 1 degree of the zodiac. So if you take that 72 years per degree, and we're somewhere around 6 degrees of Pisces, then we still have about 430 years to go left before we enter into 29 degrees of Aquarius, which is the age of Aquarius. So we have a long ways to go. But right now, this is where we are in the age of Pisces. And the age of Pisces, well, it began 2,000 years ago with 29 degrees of Pisces. And this was 2,000 years ago. This was the advent of Christ, the birth of Christ, and this was the advent of all the churches and all the religions that have come about. But it's a very difficult time period, because when we look at this in the big scheme of the Yugas, which, by the way, what I'm going to be referring to are going to be the Yugas according to what Swami Sayuteswar said, that these Yugas will take approximately, for the entire processional process, 24,000 years, where some scientists say it's 26. I think it's got to be somewhere around these time frames. But looking at this, I want to talk about taking it further beyond the age of Pisces through all 12 signs, which takes what? To go through all 12 signs. As I said, they take approximately 2,100 or so years for it to complete a full sign. And all 12 signs will equate to something like 25, 24, 26,000 years. I'm not going to go into exact numbers because you get different numbers from different scientists or spiritualists. But it's around this time frame, okay? So let's talk about the age of Pisces. The age of Pisces, I always say, it's I believe. And it deals with the onset of building churches, but it's not a time of deep scientific value. Things are all about belief systems, and beliefs are strong emotional feelings about thoughts. But when we get to the age of Aquarius, which will be 400 and some odd years, then the saying for Aquarius is I know, and it's more about technology and science. But there's another big cyclic trend, and that is the Yugas. And I want to talk about, and I'm going to put a chart up here so you can better see what I'm talking about in this cyclic path, because this processional cycle, it takes approximately, as I said, 26,000 years, but it is cyclic in terms of an ascending and descending. So we've got this circle, but there will be approximately 12,000 years where it's ascending, and 12,000 years where it's descending. So we are on the ascending side towards the time frame that will be the highest level of consciousness on planet Earth, which will take between around 10,000 years from now to achieve, because we're going to the highest pinnacle of the ascending, which if you take that cycle or that circle of 26,000 years and you cut it in half, that half will be when we reach the highest level of consciousness on planet Earth. And so since we have been moving 2,000 years in the ascending cycle, we've got something like 10,000 to 12,000 years to reach our highest level of consciousness from today. Okay, so we're going to talk about what that equates to and what each of these cycles are about, because in the cycle of the Yugas, there are 4 Yugas. And the worst one, the darkest one that we can possibly be in, is called the Kali Yuga. And so many people think we're still in Kali Yuga. It seems like it if you look around you and see what the level of consciousness is. And you can see down here in this circle at the bottom is the Kali Yuga. And so there's a Kali Yuga on the ascending side, and there's a Kali Yuga all the way in the descending side. So each one of these equates to approximately 1,200 years on each side. So that would be what, 2,400 years total of the Kali Yuga. But beginning from the vantage point of 2,000 years ago, this started the Kali Yuga on the ascending side. And the Kali Yuga is considered the dark ages. And what that really does equate to is ignorance. It's a time of ignorance. It's a time of no values, no moral values, no moral compass. This is the time when it is the darkest. There's a time of greed, of course, spiritual degradation, so much materialism. It's all about the selfishness, nothing about the spiritual side of life. This is the Kali Yuga. But according to the estimation of where we are in the Yugas right now, we have just left the Kali Yuga, thank goodness. And at the present day of 2024, we are now in the ascending Dwapara Yuga. And the Dwapara Yuga is a time of knowledge. It's a time of information. And the Dwapara will last for approximately 2,400 years. Both the ascending and on the other side, the descending lasts for another 2,400 years. But during this time, we are driven by materialism. It is a time of duality. It's a time of conflict, as you can well see. It's a time of personal desires, where knowledge and art do flourish, but there is a moral decline, values decline. It's not a time of spirituality. It's a time of getting what you want, being self-centered, being driven by materialism. Just remember that this is the time of duality, and that is quite evident about the time period that we're in right now, the Dwapara. Now, the next age that will come after the Dwapara, and it is estimated that the Dwapara will end and the Treta era of the Yugas will begin. Now, this isn't going to be till 4100 AD. So we got a long ways to go till we reach that one. And that is called the Silver Age. It is the age that deals with sacrifices. It deals with rituals where people are becoming more moralistic. But there's still not that total sense of values. It's not where values are not that important yet, because it's still a materialistic age, but it is so much more advanced than the Dwapara to go into the Tretya age, and that will be, it's actually called the mental age, whereas the Dwapara is called the energy age. And of course the Kali Yuga is the dark age. So the Dwapara doesn't begin till 44,100 AD, and the Tretya age will last till around, well, 7,700 AD. And that's a long time from now. Now that particular age of the Tretya age will be 3,600 years. That's the ascending. Remember, there's a descending that lasts for the same amount of time. It's almost like the cycle of the moon, you know, the waxing and the waning time of the moon. Now there's the time of enlightenment that will come, and that is going to be the Satya age, or cycle of the Yugas. And the Satya is the time that is called enlightened age. Let me say, there will be no more suffering on planet Earth. There will be a concentration on the divine, the spiritual. This is a golden age that we all wish we were born into. But let me just say this, being born where we are now gives us the greatest opportunity for spiritual growth, because it is one of the hardest ages to be born into. So during the Satya age, it will be where we're connected to the divine. And there will be compassion. People will live long, beautiful lives. There's no such thing as killing one another, that's for sure. It's a time of honesty, compassion, and love on planet Earth. And as we near the pinnacle of this ascending cycle, which will take place around 12,500 years, remember, that's the half of the 25,000 age of mankind. But during this time period, did you know that it's been said that that is when we will be closest to the galactic center? So whenever the Earth gets closest to the galactic center will be the time of the highest enlightenment on planet Earth. And that is, hey, that's the time you want to reincarnate here, but but you probably, I mean, it's going to be just a time where humanity, you know, has their essence, their lessons, being one with the divine, understanding who we really are. That's what this time frame on Earth will be like. And humanity will be evolved to a level of conscious awareness. What an amazing thing. So there is a time when consciousness will be elevated on planet Earth. But then after about the 12,500 year mark, or 13,000 years into the ascending cycle, then it will start on the opposite side of the Satya cycle, where it will start to wane or decline. It's still an enlightened age, but it's declining back, where it will go after 4,800 years. Remember that the Satya age lasts for 4,800 years in the ascending cycle, and also it lasts 4,800 years in the declining cycle of the Satya cycle, the enlightened age. And then around the time of 6,700, this is like before, where it was before, it would have been BC if you look on this chart. But that is where we were before in this ascending and descending. I'm going back to the past. But that will be where it's descending back. And then by 6,700 BC before, they went into the Tretya cycle, which was 3,600 years, and that's the descending cycle, where it was before at 3,100 BC. Then at that point in time, then they went back into the Dwapara cycle, and then back into the Dark Ages. So you see, this is a big cyclic process of coming to its highest level of enlightenment, but then it descends back and goes through these levels of awareness. Now, also mixed into the bag right with all of this are the astrological cycles that will last about 2,160 some odd years, give or take 100 years with that. But that's how long we are in the age, such as the age of Pisces, the age of Aquarius, the age of going on throughout. Remember, it goes backwards, so it'd be Capricorn, Sagittarius, going back Scorpio, all the way through all those ages. So you see, this is what is in the ancient scriptures in India about the Yugas and the consciousness on planet Earth. And let me tell you one thing that I love about Vedic astrology. Well, so many things, but one thing is that if you go back to the Vedas, and this is why Vedic astrology got the name Vedic astrology, because some of the oldest reference points to astrology date back to the Vedas, which is the old Indian scriptures that had the nakshatras and astrology in them. And in those scriptures, astrology is said to be the eyes of the Vedas, because you see, the way that it was constructed, the Vedas were hymns, songs, and each part of the body of man, which essentially, if you know yourself, then you know everything about the universe. We are all connected. As above, so below. We are one. But going to this reference point, there's different aspects of Vedic sciences that are part of the body, such as Ayurveda, such as yoga, different limbs of the body, the arms, the lungs. But astrology, Vedic astrology, is said to be Jyotish, which is the eyes of the Vedas. And if you think of that, Jyotish means the science of light. It gives us sight into the darkness of this world. And that's what I love and the beauty about Vedic astrology. Vedic astrology is the truth about who you really are, what you're here to do, and the ages of mankind, and how we are immortal. We keep coming back in many lifetimes through these ages of development and spirituality. We are here through all of it, through these incredible ages of mankind, incredible learning and spiritual growth that this is all about. So I hope, Valerie, that you've enjoyed this dissertation and maybe learned something about the Yugas, their length of time, the ages of mankind, and most of all, the astrology and what it's here to give us reference and meaning and information, to give us sight in the darkness of this world. So remember, if you would like to study with me, become my student. The university is starting a new semester, the beginning of the year. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com and become one of our members, one of our family, with the university. It is ongoing, lasts a lifetime. Membership never expires, and you're going to meet a lot of new friends and people with like-mindedness. So I hope I see you there in class. Thank you.